Do you have to exercise to lose weight? Maybe a decade or two ago, I would have said, no, not necessarily. There's a lot of people out there that can lose weight without exercising. But nowadays, considering all the different circumstances that we're dealing with, especially when it comes to stress nowadays, I would say a lot of people, yes, do need to exercise to lose weight. There's a small subsect or minority of people that don't necessarily need to add in extra exercise to their day, like apart from their NEAT, their non exercise thermogenic activity. But the majority of people do need to exercise to lose weight, and it's for many reasons when you consider the stresses that we have to deal with nowadays. And I'm not just talking about emotional or financial or work stress. We also have like food stresses. There's a lot of food out there that stresses the body, a lot of inflammatory ingredients. Also, we have maybe you're not sleeping, like that sort of stress. There's relationship stress, there's the environmental stress, there's all the toxins in the air that we can't control. There's toxins everywhere that we are being exposed to and we don't even know. You walk into a coffee shop and you order a green tea thinking you're making a good choice, but little do you know, they have wiped down the table that you're sitting at and touching at and have your arms on with chemical laden disinfectants. Like, it's everywhere. We can't avoid stress. And again, it's not just the emotional stress, there's stress everywhere. If you're not sleeping, that is a big stress. If you're not moving or exercising, that is very stressful to your body. If you have excess body fat, that is very stressful to your body. Because what do we know about fat cells? Well, they are endocrine organs in themselves and they are very inflammatory. So that then we've got the stress. If you have extra hormones, higher estrogen dominance, lower progesterone, that is stressful on the body. Under eating, I was having this conversation with someone earlier, that's very stressful on the body. So, I mean, there's lots of different stressors nowadays that are going to affect our metabolism and our ability to break down fat and our energy expenditure each day. So what that means is that the majority of people, their metabolism is lower than what they actually think. Especially if you're on a diet or you're trying to lose weight and you're not losing weight and you're not seeing the results, that tells us your metabolism is slower than we actually thought. And yes, there could be many things playing a part there. And of course, we would have to address them. But in the meantime, to get your results, there are some steps that need to be taken, like increased protein. But exercise is one of them. If, let's say, your metabolism is at 1100 calories, you can't really go too much lower than 1100 calories. I mean, you cannot spend your life at 1100 calories unless that is your height. Maybe you're under 5 foot and you're very small. But for most people, 1100 calories is a bit low. And if, like I said, you are trying to lose weight on 1100 calories, you're dieting and you're tracking and you're not seeing results and you're not getting anywhere, that tells us your energy expenditure or your metabolism is lower than we thought. Maybe it's 900 calories, maybe it's 800 calories. Now, to make up that difference, you can't realistically deplete another 300 calories from your day each day. There will be a lot of consequences to do that or from doing that. So to make up, say, that 300 calories, that's where we would bring in exercise, and that's where you start to see the scales shift. And a lot of people will say, oh, I'll say, how come your results are so good this week, or what do you think made a difference? And they'll say, well, I moved more, or I got in a couple of extra walks, or I did my workout each morning and I hadn't been doing whatever it was. The exercise is making the difference in the calorie expenditure, because I've spoke about this a lot. In all, if you want to see weight loss, there has to be a calorie deficit. Now, if your metabolism is slow and you think you're in a deficit and you're not seeing results, yeah, there's something else going on there. Maybe it's thyroid, maybe there's malnutrition, maybe there's other stuff going on there. You're not asleep, you have chronic inflammation, maybe an infection. There could be many things going on there. But the point is, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So if you think you're in a calorie deficit and you're not getting the results, you're not in a calorie deficit per se, and that's where you need to bring in exercise. And when you look at society as a whole, with the amount of stress we have around us, stress is the number one thing to crush your metabolism, wherever that stress comes from. Even if it is from over exercise, you can over exercise and not see weight loss because you've pushed yourself into sympathetic nervous system. So the central nervous system is like your thermometer. It can either bring up your metabolism or bring down your metabolism, but it's a huge factor. And that there are also genetics to think of. There's a lot of people like myself who are predisposed to easily gaining weight because of our genes, and that means we have to. Our metabolism may not be that slow, but we have to exercise to see the weight loss happen. And there's so many benefits to exercise that in itself can aid with weight loss. Like walking has anti-inflammatory aspects. It calms down the central nervous system. Exercise overall stimulates adiponectin. And adiponectin basically is a signaling hormone that tells your fat where to go. So it basically signals to fat, don't go to the viscera, don't go to visceral fat, which is the bad fat, which causes lots of issues, including fatty liver and heart disease. Go to the subcutaneous fat, which is the fat we would like pinch or squeeze on our hips or our thighs. So adiponectin is very helpful in that aspect of things, in basically shuttling your fat into good areas, even though we might not think it's good, like because we've got the muffin top hang or the bat wings or something. That is better to have your fat there than around the viscera, around your organs underneath your abdominal muscles. And adiponectin does that, and adiponectin is signaled through exercise. So there's loads of benefits from exercise. Adiponectin is one of the reasons that sumo wrestlers are generally healthy, even though they're huge. Their biological markers are generally healthy because they exercise so much. So most of the fat you see on a sumo wrestler is going to be subcutaneous fat. It's not the visceral fat. But back to the point at hand, for most people, yeah, you do need to exercise to see the scale move. You will get loads of health benefits from it. Like, exercise is not necessarily going to hurt you depending on what you do, but there's loads of benefits. And because we have so many different stresses, so many people I speak to not sleeping, that is one of the biggest stressors you can have, and it will impair fat loss because not sleeping absolutely crushes your metabolism. So maybe you are in what you think is a calorie deficit and you're dieting and you're not seeing results, but you're not sleeping either. We could only guesstimate, unless we accurately measured your metabolic rate through some sort of carbon machine, that yeah, your metabolism is crappy. because you're not sleeping. So we can't cut your calories even more. We have to bring in more movement. So it's not even necessarily exercise. It's more movement as well. And I've spoken about like how fat loss works as well. So fat loss is basically a long carbon chain, and we break this carbon chain, and the byproduct is going to be energy, water, and carbon dioxide. So exhaling, every time you exhale, you're exhaling some fat. Maybe right now I'm only exhaling a tiny bit, but if you think of exercise and it has you panting, even if you're going for a moderate paced walk, you're exhaling, 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 you're breaking down fat that way. You're exhaling, so you exhale the carbon, which is a broken fat bond. It's a carbon bond. So there's a lot of benefits for exercise, like a mountain of them. So good for mental health. Obviously, there's the physical and cardiovascular health. It's amazing for insulin sensitivity, leptin sensitivity, the adiponectin I mentioned. So many benefits, but the bottom line is considering how we live nowadays, not just in our house, not just our lifestyle, the world, considering what we're surrounded with, considering everything, I think yes, most people do have to exercise to see results or to get the weight loss that they want. I know not everyone wants to hear that, but it is unfortunately the truth, especially when we consider stress, which is, nobody escapes stress. It hits all of us. So I hope you found that or this video helpful. I hope it didn't freeze. Let me know if you have questions and I'll be happy to answer. Bye.